Germany emerged from the ashes of World War I deeply scarred. The once mighty German Empire lay in ruins, defeated and demoralized. Millions of soldiers were dead and the economy was in shambles. The war drained the country's resources, leaving widespread poverty and unemployment. The social fabric was torn apart by political unrest and economic hardship. The armistice of 1918 ended the fighting but did not bring peace. The seeds of discontent sown would eventually bear bitter fruit with the rise of Adolf Hitler and the Nazi Party. The Treaty of Versailles, signed in 1919, officially ended World War I. However, it came at a heavy price for Germany. The treaty, widely perceived as a dictated peace, imposed harsh terms on the defeated nation. Germany was forced to accept sole responsibility for the war and was burdened with massive reparations payments. These reparations, intended to compensate the victors for their losses, crippled the German economy. The treaty also stripped Germany of significant territories and placed strict limits on its military. The loss of land and resources further weakened the German economy and fueled a sense of resentment and humiliation among the population. The Treaty of Versailles was a festering wound on the German psyche. It created a deep sense of injustice and fostered a desire for revenge. Many Germans believed that their country had been unfairly treated and that the treaty was a source of national shame. This widespread resentment created a fertile ground for extremist movements like the Nazis to exploit. In the wake of defeat and revolution, Germany adopted a new democratic system of government known as the Weimar Republic. The Weimar Republic, established in 1919, faced an uphill battle from the outset. It was tasked with rebuilding a shattered nation and healing the deep divisions within German society. The Republic's early years were marked by political instability and economic chaos. The Weimar Constitution, while considered progressive for its time, contained inherent weaknesses. The system of proportional representation, while designed to ensure fair representation for all parties, also made it difficult for any single party to achieve a majority. This often led to fragile coalition governments that were easily toppled. Furthermore, the Constitution contained an emergency clause, Article 48, which allowed the President to suspend civil liberties and rule by decree in times of crisis. This provision, intended to provide stability, would later be exploited by the Nazis to dismantle democracy. The political and economic turmoil of the Weimar Republic created an environment in which extremist ideologies could flourish. On both the left and the right, radical parties emerged, promising simple solutions to complex problems. These parties, fueled by nationalism, resentment and economic anxiety, tapped into the widespread disillusionment with the government. They offered scapegoats for Germany's woes, blaming Jews, communists and liberals for the country's misfortunes. Among these extremist groups, the National Socialist Party, or Nazi Party, proved particularly adept at exploiting the anxieties of the time. Led by Adolf Hitler, a charismatic demagogue, the Nazis offered a potent mix of nationalism, anti-Semitism, and promises of national revival. Hitler's message resonated with many Germans who were desperate for change and a return to greatness. The Nazis appealed to those who felt left behind by the modern world and yearned for a return to a mythical golden age. They offered a vision of a strong, unified Germany, purged of its enemies and restored to its rightful place in the world. Section 5. Hitler's Ascent, from beer hall speeches to the national stage. Adolf Hitler, a failed artist and decorated war veteran, joined the fledgling Nazi Party in 1921. He quickly rose through the ranks, becoming the party's leader in 1921. Hitler possessed a hypnotic charisma and a keen understanding of propaganda. He was a gifted orator, capable of captivating audiences with his fiery rhetoric and promises of national salvation. Hitler's speeches, often delivered in beer halls and other public venues, tapped into the anger and resentment felt by many Germans. He railed against the Treaty of Versailles, which he called a dictate of shame, and blamed the Weimar government for accepting its humiliating terms. Hitler promised to restore Germany to its former glory, to tear up the treaty, and to make Germany strong again. He appealed to traditional German values, promising to restore order and stability to a nation teetering on the brink of chaos. Hitler's message of national revival and his scapegoating of minority groups resonated with an increasingly desperate population. Section 6, the propaganda machine. Weaving a tapestry of hate and hope. The Nazis were masters of propaganda. They understood the power of imagery, symbolism, and repetition. Led by Joseph Goebbels, the Nazis created a vast propaganda machine. Newspapers, radio, films, and posters spread the Nazi message. They exploited radio to reach a mass audience. Propaganda demonized opponents and glorified Hitler. It painted a utopian vision of a future Germany. The year 1933 marked a turning point in German history, the year that democracy died and the Nazi dictatorship was born. Despite their growing popularity, the Nazis had not been able to achieve an outright majority in the Reichstag, the German parliament. However, the political landscape shifted dramatically in January 1933, when President Paul von Hindenburg, an aging war hero, appointed Adolf Hitler as Chancellor of Germany. Hindenburg, pressured by conservative politicians who believed they could control Hitler, hoped to use the Nazis to achieve their own political goals. They underestimated Hitler's ambition and his ruthlessness. Within weeks of his appointment, Hitler moved swiftly to consolidate his power and eliminate his opponents. A suspicious fire at the Reichstag building in February 1933 provided Hitler with the pretext he needed to suspend civil liberties and crack down on his enemies. With the Reichstag fire as a justification, Hitler pushed through the Enabling Act in March 1933. This law granted Hitler and his cabinet dictatorial powers, effectively bypassing the Reichstag and abolishing democracy in Germany. The Enabling Act effectively ended the Weimar Republic and ushered in the Nazi dictatorship. With the stroke of a pen, Germany was transformed from a democracy into a totalitarian state. The Nazis wasted no time in consolidating their grip on power. They banned all other political parties, outlawed trade unions, and established a system of terror and intimidation to silence dissent. The Gestapo, the Nazi secret police, and the SS, Hitler's elite guard, became the instruments of Nazi terror, arresting, torturing, and murdering anyone deemed an enemy of the state. Concentration camps, initially established to hold political prisoners, began to spread across Germany, becoming sites of unimaginable cruelty and mass murder. The Nazis understood that maintaining power required not only eliminating opposition but also controlling the hearts and minds of the German people. They embarked on a systematic campaign to indoctrinate the population, particularly the youth, with Nazi ideology. Schools and universities were transformed into instruments of Nazi propaganda, with curricula rewritten to glorify the Nazi regime and instill hatred of Jews and other minorities. The Hitler Youth and the League of German Girls became tools of indoctrination, molding young minds in accordance with Nazi ideology. The Nazis also sought to control all aspects of German life, from culture and the arts to the economy and the media. Books deemed subversive were burned, modern art was condemned as degenerate, and the press was tightly controlled. The Nazis implemented a system of economic autarky, aiming to make Germany self-sufficient and free from reliance on foreign trade. This policy, while initially successful in reducing unemployment, ultimately proved unsustainable and contributed to Germany's isolation on the world stage. The Nazi rise to power in Germany had catastrophic consequences, not only for Germany but for the entire world. Hitler's totalitarian regime unleashed a reign of terror that resulted in the deaths of millions of people, including 6 million Jews systematically murdered in the Holocaust. The Nazi ideology, rooted in racism, anti-Semitism, and a lust for conquest, plunged the world into the deadliest conflict in human history, World War II. The war left Europe in ruins, its cities shattered, its economies devastated, and its people traumatized. The legacy of Nazi rule serves as a stark reminder of the dangers of extremism, the fragility of democracy, and the importance of vigilance in the face of intolerance and hatred. The lessons learned from the Nazi era continue to resonate today, urging us to confront prejudice, defend democratic values and work tirelessly to prevent the re-emergence of such darkness.